Jesus was desperate to get away. Last Sunday, you may remember that he tried to put water between himself and the crowds by getting into a boat and sailing away. He was so distraught that he didn't notice that people were watching him from the shore, following the boat. And so by the time he got out of the boat in this deserted place, the crowds were already recollecting. And he had compassion on them, and he healed them, and he fed 5,000 men, not counting women and children. In those days, women and children didn't count. And after he had fed them and healed them, so much psychic energy had gone out of him that he was exhausted. And he still hadn't had time to be alone to deal with the horrific trauma that he was trying to get away from the crowds in order to pray in the first place. What was this horrific trauma that he was trying to recover from? 6 blocks from my house, there's a poster. It's 2 stories tall. You can't miss it. It shows a woman in a black dress. She's wearing a smile, but it's not a happy smile. It's a kind of vicious smile. Her hand rests rather casually on the head of a man. The head looks a little dead. It must be dead because it's on a silver platter. Above the photograph is one word: Salome. This is the trauma Jesus was trying to get away from the crowds in order to pray about. His beloved cousin, first cousin, John the Baptizer, the great prophet, had been casually beheaded on the whim of Salome. Jesus needed to have a word or two with God. Last week, he decided to put himself in the boat in order to get away from the people. This week, he decides, okay, that didn't work. Let's put the people in the boat and send them on. It was easy to get rid of the crowds. It was getting towards dark. They had eaten their fill. Go home, folks. Get ready for bed. It's all over here. But the disciples were a different problem. They wanted to stay with the Master. They wanted to stay on land. Maybe it was that they wanted to spend the night with the Master, or maybe they already saw some storm clouds. And they maybe didn't think it was such a great idea to be on a boat on the Sea of Galilee that is famous for their storms. Jesus, according to today's gospel, says Jesus made them get onto the boat. He forced them. Obviously, they were somewhat resistant. He forced them to get out into the boat, and finally, he was able to have some solace, some private time away with God. And he went up on this little hill, not far from the lake, from the sea. and he prayed. He must have been there in prayer for about 2 hours because it was the second watch of the night. So it would have been somewhere between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. when he was aware that there was a storm out on the sea. And he decided that his disciples needed him. And he went walking toward them, intending to calm them down. But when they saw him, they were terrified. "It is a ghost," they said. So, Jesus said what the messenger, every messenger of God, always says to people, because people are always afraid when they see a messenger from God. Fear not. It is I. Ego eimi. It's kind of reflective of the proper name of God. I am that I am. It is I. Peter wasn't really buying it. He said, "If it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus' reply was one word: "Come." Jesus assured Peter that he could do it. Peter climbed out of the boat and walked a few steps towards Jesus. And then he was aware of the wind, and he looked into the wind. And he began to sink, and he said, "Save me." And Jesus reached out his hand and lifted himself and Peter into the boat. And immediately there was calm. To me, the real miracle of today's gospel is that Peter walked on the water. That he walked on the water at all, even just a couple of steps. Peter, an ordinary human being, impulsive sometimes, a very human, walked on the water. I think Jesus had a bit of a smile. You know, the Gospels don't tell us about facial expression. But I think Jesus had a bit of a smile, a bit of an attaboy kind of look on his face when he said, "O ye of little faith." O ye of little faith. He didn't say, "O ye of no faith." He didn't say, "O ye of defective faith." He said, "O ye of little faith." Have you ever taken home a little puppy or a little kitten? They're playful, they're cuddly, they're sweet, and they grow up to be adult dogs and adult cats. Have you ever seen a video of a baby elephant cavorting? So sweet, so cute, and inevitably so big. That, I believe, is what Jesus was saying to Peter. "O ye of little faith." Your faith will grow. You're going to need elephant-sized faith for the job that I have planned for you. O ye of little faith, don't forget to keep your eyes on God. Why did you doubt? Why did you take your eyes off of me? Remember in the future. Remember to keep your eyes on God when you really need God. So that's a nice story about something that happened 2,000 years ago. What about you and me? What does it have to do with us? You and I have little faith. Little faith. And our faith can grow. Our faith is not necessarily defective. It's not entirely lacking. It's little for now. But God has great challenges for us ahead. Our faith can and will grow. Church is a great place to admit that we have little faith. It's a great place to nurture our faith. Our faith will grow. Little children, nourish each other's faith. Encourage each other as you all grow in faith. Little children, love one another. Love one another.